What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. I know a lot of people are wondering where I've been. Am I dead? No, there was a lot of things that were going on really quick, just getting it out of the way. I was actually in YouTube jail over a meme that I put out 4 years ago. They deemed it as dangerous content and I got a strike and I wasn't able to post. Tried to appeal it, it didn't work. But in the meantime, I was able to close on my house in Florida. So I will now also be a Floridian resident. So that is pretty good. I'll go into it a little bit more, guys. Really, nothing has happened in the charts, right? Really, if we have a look, it's kind of just been bouncing between 26 and 30 for a while. But I do want to talk about something that's going on right now. Number one is the fact that the banking crisis has clearly been worsening. And there's actually one analyst that does believe that Bitcoin could potentially have a 40% to 80% drawdown from these levels. Now, just to put that into perspective, an 80% drawdown from the prices that we're at right now would put Bitcoin at $5,000. Now, do I personally believe that Bitcoin is going to $5,000? Absolutely not. But there is something in the charts right now that we've been talking about that is signaling that it could get at least a little bit short-term crazy for the Bitcoin price action. Now, getting back again to the banking crisis and everything that's going on, in the US, which, by the way, I don't want to just start out with all the bad news. Today is Bitcoin Pizza Day, right? It is Bitcoin Pizza Day. You remember Laszlo, he bought a Bitcoin pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin. So basically he spent $266 million on a pizza at current prices. So, obviously I don't want to get too, crazy into this, but, getting back into the whole, is the US trying to kill cryptocurrency? Well, I could tell you, I was at the Bitcoin conference. I got to meet a lot of you. We had a lot of fun out there. And I could tell you there definitely is something going on in the background right now. And I don't think they're going to ban Bitcoin, but I do think that they're going to try to create that fear, where banks don't want to work with it. People don't want to touch it, right? I do think that there's something going on because I myself personally am actually dealing with some cryptocurrency issues right now as well. So I can definitely say from personal experience that they are in fact targeting the industry. I was over on the Debate Crypto channel. If you guys were watching at the conference, I was talking with Gareth Soloway, Crypto Lifer, and we were talking about Bitcoin price action and what we thought, everything that's been going on. And it's pretty crazy, guys. Also, you might have heard the whole Ledger thing, and I use a Ledger. We've talked about Ledger on this channel. Is it time to get off of Ledger? So lots of stuff that we need to talk about and something we need to pay attention to. So if all that sounds good to you, I know I'm all over the place today, but what can you do? I haven't made a video in 2 weeks. So there's just so much to talk about. Let's dive in. Let's have a look. If you're not subscribed, get subscribed. We're going hard, guys, every single day. So let me start off with what's going on in the charts. It's been a long time. Not much has changed, but again, as I've been saying, and if my voice sounds a little scratchy, basically Miami, there's just like all these parties, loud music. I was basically screaming at the top of my lungs for like 5 straight days. So that's why my voice sounds the way it does. But you can see right here, we did have this wick down and I've been saying 25,300. I've been saying that. And even when we went up here, you could see we're in this blue zone and we hit the top of this resistance. So I don't know if you guys remember, not much has changed. And we said right here, down here was the area to long, which we basically We didn't exactly call the bottom. To be honest, we were off by about $2,000. But even if you bought at 17, you still were able to ride that all the way up to 30. And I do think the next stop is coming down here, to around that $25,300 level, just so that we can build that base, right? Again, I am seeing the EMA ribbon starting to flip, right? You could see the yellow is trying to come above the red, right? The ribbon is looking to twist. Usually when it does that, that means it's about to go into some really bullish momentum. But this is on the weekly. So keep in mind that we do need to retest this. And remember I said right here, this 89, anytime we fell below this, you could basically just put in a long, right here. We didn't touch it. Long. Now right here, we came below it, right? And then what happened? It acted as resistance. So now we're on the second week of this acting as resistance. So this is what's telling me that maybe we had a little too much exuberance. We might actually be overbought and we may be looking for that correction. It wouldn't even be impossible to come back down, somewhere into this ribbon itself, right? Now, what actually was interesting was that we bounced off of the 200 weekly. So the 200 weekly is this pink line right here, and it was actually holding us down for a long time. And you can see if we zoom in, we actually bounced off of it. So that is sort of the first thing that I'm looking at that's showing me that, yes, short term, I do think we can still have a pullback even farther than this, but we are seeing that bounce. Now, what would cause us to go below that level? Well, don't forget, and remember, this is a very, very interesting CME futures gap down here at around, believe it or not, you'd have to go down to about $20,000 to close this thing right here. But remember that was off of filling this previous gap, right? So it was really weird. So we filled the gap, but then we bounced above it, and then we created a new gap. I've never seen that before. So I'd like to pretend that I know the answer. I don't. But if we were to fill that gap, we would come down to about $20,000. Now, Credible Crypto says, while gaps are often filled, especially in choppy corrective environments, when market conditions shift and we begin trending, gaps are often left behind until the impulse is complete. If we are bullish, as I think I am, the gap at 20K may not be filled anytime soon. Now, you guys know me personally. I would rather fill the gap sooner than later, but we'll see. He may be correct on this. Time will tell. But what we are doing, and I haven't posted in like 2 weeks, and we're still just in the same exact channel. You can see we lost the heart line here. We came down. And again, this still shows us the possibility. Again, you see right here, perfect wick right down here, resistance right here. It acted as resistance again right here. And what I'm looking for is to see this come down here and touch that $25,300 level again, and then continue to the upside. And maybe we don't fill that gap, right? Looking again at Market Cipher and Wave Edge, we've clearly come out of this very, very large momentous move. I think it's very obvious on both of these charts. But you can see on the short term right here, we are looking to have a bit of a curve over. So I still think that even though we do have the money flow potentially moving to the upside, we haven't gotten confirmation on that. And it still shows us that we could have a corrective move in the short term. But again, am I bearish? No. Look at this major trend line. We've never fallen below this trend since literally July of 2017. So, and even here we only wicked below it slightly. So this is a major trend on the logarithmic chart that's lasted since 2017. Bitcoin has never fallen below it. So I know people like to look at the higher prices. They like to look at the 20K top, the 70K top, right? But let's just look at the bottoms, right? Down here, you have 1,783. The next low, we have 3,284. The next low, we have 4,000, right? And then we closed at 5,000. And then the next low is basically 15,005, right? So we are continuing to put in an upwards trend. And unless Bitcoin breaks this major trend line, then there's really no reason to think that there's really anything, long-term bearish about Bitcoin. Of course, being correlated to stocks. Stocks are still having difficulty breaking above this sort of double top. And you have gold, potentially putting in this like triple top pattern right here. 1, 2, 3. So it's showing that a lot of the assets in general are obviously having difficulty. Now, let's move on. And obviously, guys, if you want to learn how to trade, it's been really boring lately, but of course, I do go over this. I understand I haven't gone over it in the past couple weeks, but let's be honest, price has been pretty damn boring, but we are going to eventually have that big move, right? I do think we're going to have that corrective move down, and I think we're going to continue moving to the upside, but of course, what I think doesn't matter. It really matters what the charts say. So if you want to learn how to trade, check out the tutorial popping up above, plenty of bonuses below. And also, I know like Bybit, for example, they're doing KYC. There's tons of other exchanges you can use. Decentralized exchanges, right? I have a tutorial on Apex. So if you were over trading on Bybit, it's the same thing. It's like the same exact interface. So it's this right here. If you guys want to learn how to trade, I have tutorials, below and stuff. So check that out. There's always opportunities, no matter how bad it gets, right? So newly released data from the Federal Reserve shows that more than 700 American banks are facing significant safety and soundness risk due to massive unrealized loans on their balance sheet. According to the Fed, more than 700 banks have self-reported unrealized losses that exceed 50% of their capital. But wait, guys, crypto's the scam. Okay, the Fed points to its own interest rate rises as the catalyst for the losses. Yeah, well, of course, that's what they're trying to do, right? They're raising the rate rates, and they're saying, oh, we're not, no, they're trying to crash something. That's what they want, right? They want to raise the rates so that when what hits the fan, they can then lower the rates, and then everybody goes, thank you, Fed. Thank you so much for saving us. Higher than anticipated deposit outflows and limited availability contingency funding is making things difficult for these banks, right? Now, this is the part that gets like the bearish crazy thing. So crypto analyst Marcel Peckman, right? He's over at Macro Markets. Now on this show, they were talking about the United States debt crisis as the government quickly runs out of money. Now, according to Marcel, he believes that the government has incentives to show desperation and scare the general public into pressuring Congress to approve another increase to the debt ceiling. The risks of a government shutdown and subsequent default exist, which could lead to a wave of bankruptcies and a stock market crash as people rush to liquidate assets for cash. Now, he says that in such a black swan scenario, we could see Bitcoin face a 40% to 80% drop in just a couple of days. Now, again, I know that the United States thinks that like everything that happens over here is what happens across the whole globe. It doesn't, okay? Yes, it would affect Bitcoin price. Yes, there would probably be a cascade of liquidations, okay? But I don't think that we would stay down there very long, even if we did have this drop. And like they said, there's a catch. Why would investors keep huge cash positions after the dust settles? As soon as the government raises the debt and issues more money, it's instantly diluted. You see what I'm saying here? And I think what we're seeing is a lot of people realizing the power of Bitcoin. This is crazy. This is coming from Nicolas Maduro. Now, he is, the Venezuelan president. And obviously, let me just show you real quick. If you guys aren't unaware of how bad inflation is in Venezuela, it's pretty bad. I mean, I think we can all agree this looks pretty terrible. And even he's talking about, the inevitable shift away from the dollar. I mean, this is like coming from these guys where, the dollar looks a lot better, with our inflation up at, 6%, whatever, 7%. Even when it was at 9%, it wasn't what is this? Is this 1.3 million? That's insane. I can't even believe that. But he points to the U.S. sanctions as the core reason that nations are exploring ways to reduce their reliance on the dollar. They are adding to the process of the inevitable de-dollarization of the world. Many alternative initiatives to the US dollar are emerging. We could say we are at the beginning of a sustained, accelerated process of de-dollarization of the commercial world. He even talks about the gold-backed digital currency in Zimbabwe, which is designed for payments as well as a store of value. He also talks about the economic alliance of the BRICS nations, which are developing the new development bank designed to offer loans that fuel public and private projects and do not need to use the US dollar, right? So, but so what are we doing over here? What are we doing over here? We're kind of bullying everybody in the US and we're trying to freak everyone out and scare them. And we're making the fiat off-ramps, we're like choking them, making it more difficult. There are a lot of people that I've talked to that have just randomly had their Coinbase account shut down. I mean, I was one of those people, so I know. And it's just they're making it difficult to get money out of crypto, right? It's like, it seems like no matter, everywhere you go, you can like buy crypto, right? Buying crypto is easy. You got a credit card, buy some crypto. Here's some Bitcoin. But then try to get that Bitcoin back into your bank account, right? And I'm sure a lot of you are using different types of exchanges, but a lot of people are hearing that they're, getting them shut down. And they're saying that regulators are making a big mistake with Bitcoin and other crypto. Blunt enforcement, not clear legislation and guidelines is the US government's preferred method. Now, look at this over here, guys. So we know everything that's been going on with the SEC. Well, you have the Chamber of Commerce basically coming after the SEC and being like, you guys need to make a decision. They said, as it stands, nobody knows for certain which digital assets, if any, are securities under federal law. There is no small question. This is big. It has immense implications for every person involved in this $1 trillion digital asset economy. And they said, remarkably, this is the thing, and this is coming from their mouth, the SEC, despite proclaiming to be the primary regulator of digital assets, has actually refused to resolve the question. The commission has instead offered a series of one-off enforcement actions supplemented by public speeches and other statements that one commissioner broadly described as confusing, unhelpful, and inconsistent, and it has refused to engage in any rulemaking or other systematic process to explain what is claimed, what their authority actually is. Now, there are many conspiracies about why that Gensler was involved with the FTX thing and it was all just a big ploy to either control crypto or to collapse it. Eventually the truth will come to light. But as the SEC is still struggling with this XRP case, it does actually seem that according to some emails that had come out, that the SEC is apparently suggesting that XRP may not actually satisfy all of Howey factors. They noted reasonable grounds to believe that XRP is not a security. Now, this could be huge for crypto. This could be huge for, coins and tokens and things like that released in the future. John Eaton, he is a crypto law guy. He says the SEC staff states that there are reasonable grounds to believe XRP is not a security. The SEC charges Brad Garlinghouse with recklessness because it's so obvious that XRP is a security. Absolutely shameful. You say one thing, you do another, and yet no one's held accountable. No one's held accountable for this. It's absolutely ridiculous, And the thing is, being in the US, I get it, but, even for example, Hong Kong, right, which there's a lot of wealthy individuals in Hong Kong. And remember, it's not really, I don't know the technical definition of Hong Kong's relationship to China, but I know it's like their financial district and they're allowed to sort of experiment and do other things that mainland China can't do. And they have a highly anticipated crypto license that is expected to launch next month. In fact, I was hearing that as of June 1st, the retail would finally be able to enter. Now, if you consider the fact that, I think they say something about people with portfolios under 1 million may have a issue or something like that. But they say vying to become a crypto hub, they will release the final guidelines. I think they actually did release them by the time that this article came out. And yeah, that's a lot of fresh capital coming in. So everybody freaking out about, what's happening in the US with the rates? It's like everyone's getting away. I mean, Maduro from Venezuela is even talking about de-dollarization. So I think that the world is waking up and realizing that Bitcoin and, some of these other assets are much better hedges. And, you have Hong Kong getting the green light to go trade. That's kind of a 180 from, China banning it essentially. But of course, why should we help out the crypto people? So Joe Biden has expressed, listen to this, by the way, has expressed opinions to the debt ceiling, whatever, and he was talking about stuff that would help crypto traders. So you guys know tax loss harvesting. You probably heard of it. I'll give it to you in a nutshell. It basically is when you sell a crypto at a loss to offset your capital gains. And then to claim a loss, they must be sold, and then the proceeds must be used to purchase a similar asset within 30 days before or after the sale. The mechanism is also available for stocks and other assets. Now, this is something that you can do on the real stock market, right? But Biden says, I'm not going to agree to deal with a deal that protects wealthy tax cheats and crypto traders while putting food assistance at risk for nearly 1 million Americans. So Biden doesn't want to support this for cryptocurrency, even though you can totally do this on Wall Street, no problem. But guess what? Conservative think tank has stamped an F on Biden's crypto excuse me, guys. I'm telling you, I lost my damn voice at that conference. So he wants to charge the Bitcoin miners 30%. And they say the American Institute for Economic Research is dragging the White House for its ignorance about energy usage in Bitcoin. Taxing a particular type of electricity using activity does not provide an incentive to reduce the electricity. It provides an incentive to switch from the taxed electricity using activity to the other untaxed electricity using activity, right? It's ridiculous. You also had the CEO at Marathon Digital. He put it a lot more bluntly, and he said that a tax as high as 30% would essentially shut them down, referring generally to the Bitcoin miners within the U.S. operations. So again, is the U.S. trying to kill crypto, trying to dissuade? They're not going to ban it. They're just going to tax the hell out of it, okay? They're going to scare everyone. They're going to try to cut off these fiat on-ramps and off-ramps, right? Discourage these banks from working with crypto projects, make it more difficult. They're going to not allow you to do tax loss harvesting, which is something you can do on Wall Street in stocks, but he doesn't want you to do it in crypto, right? So this is that choke point. This is what Balaji is talking about. It's a tough time for America, but they do have that sort of history of over-regulating. And, I think America, US, I think we will eventually integrate cryptocurrency. But look at what we did with the automobile. Look at what we did with prohibition of alcohol, right? Look at what we just always do. We over-regulate and then we pull back. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who, by the way, was at the conference, he actually talked about Bitcoin. He said cryptocurrencies led by Bitcoin along with other crypto technologies are a major innovation engine. It is a mistake for the US government to hobble the industry and drive innovation elsewhere. Biden's proposed 30% on cryptocurrency tax mining is a bad idea. And just to let you know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is currently accepting Bitcoin donations. He made some comments and he said that Bitcoin is representative of true democracy and freedom. He noted that there is power in the durability and flexibility of Bitcoin. So, obviously, you can see that we do have people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We do have people like Caitlin Long and Cynthia Lummis and Hester Pierce and a lot of other people, Warren Davidson, right? The list goes on. Mayor Suarez of Miami, right? Pushing for this crypto adoption. But we also have the fear of the dinosaurs, the federal government, right? The SEC, who are afraid of this new digital frontier. They're afraid of giving up their power, but it's inevitable. Worst case, they push everything offshore and, then we just fall behind and they're only going to make it worse. So it's only a matter of time until the US actually learns to accept that. So that's basically that, guys. And if you were worried about, let me just really quick, I wanted to touch on this Ledger thing. So this guy, Joe Grand, a lot of people were worried about, what's going on with Ledger. I've given my opinion on it, which actually I can play in a second from this video if you're interested. But basically, in a nutshell, he said that I don't think they did a good job at explaining it, but I wouldn't call this a backdoor by any stretch. So he's basically saying, don't actually worry about it, right? That's what he's saying. And this is the guy that literally hacked into Trezor. This guy hacked a hardware wallet. Joe Grand, look him up. And he, on Discord, was saying not to worry about it. But I was speaking over on that panel, and I did give my opinion on it. So if you're interested, if you made it to the end of the video, rather than me explain my situation again, I'll just play that clip.
It's one of those things where it's like, okay, now does this create a new issue that's people are going to have to deal with, like with security or with anything else down the line. And again, I mean, I thought the whole idea of a wallet was it's off grid essentially, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, okay, well now it's not really, right?
So I have a few different points of speculation on it. Some of it ranging from that whole conspiracy thing, which I know you fellas love on the channel, down to, I don't know, maybe they are. So there is the idea that, maybe Ledger just they have as much of the OGs as they're going to get, right? But how do we get the next wave in? So, grandma loses her password. What does she do? She resets it on the bank. So maybe benefit of the doubt, their logic is, hey, how are we going to get the next wave in if there's not a wave of protection? Get them to pay $10 a month. They lose it, they get it back, right? That's one way to look at it. Another way, we look at the fact that Ledger's coming out of France, right? So they just had their MiCA laws, right? Very convenient timing. You know what I'm saying? So then there's that fear that, if they're sharding this to 3 separate companies, they won't even disclose who the third company is to everybody. So what happens if now somebody in, I don't know, one of these European countries says, you know what, this guy, we need that. We have the power to override this. We don't care about the facial recognition. We need all 3 of these shards, put them together. We need access to those funds right now, right? That's scary as well. And the third thing is the question of the backdoor, as in, okay, so we know that they have introduced the Ledger Nano S Plus, right, conveniently, at the same time that they unroll, this X and this new one they're coming out with. So the fact that they keep the chip not open source, whereas Trezor, everything is open source, no one has ever actually been able to go in there and verify anything about that hardware chip. We've just had to trust them all this time. So them telling me, don't worry, we can't do anything, worries me a little bit, right? But at the same time, let's also play devil's advocate. What happened with Trezor? They were open source, and people were able to go in and manipulate the code. And then if they were able to get access to the physical device, remember there was that situation in which they were able to extract the funds. So it's like, which side of the coin do you take? So for anybody that's watching, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You can diversify on hot wallets. I would say that at this point, if you have an original Ledger Nano S, and this is for anyone that has one of those, I would not update the firmware because we know that they came out with the Ledger Nano S Plus. So if I had to speculate, I would assume that the backdoor does not exist on that original device. It's just what I would...
On their website, they strictly say that the Nano S
is non-compatible. So I would say if you're worried and you love the Ledger Nano interface and you are an existing customer, then I would say I would stick with your Ledger Nano S, and I would not update the firmware until we get more clear understanding of what this is. And then the other alternative solution would be to just diversify. You know, Coinbase is FDIC insured. Of course, you have to dox yourself, whatever. There's hot wallets. You can make old school Bitcoin paper wallets. They're a pain in the ass, but if you want to do them, you could do it if you want to really take that route. So, but yeah, ultimately, I think that there's a lot of negatives to it, but I also think that, unfortunately, because most people don't want to be their own bank, I think maybe they were like, hey, maybe we get some more customers, make some money. So that's kind of my take on it.
So that's basically how I feel about it. Let me know what you think, guys. Right now, I'm still, currently using a Ledger, but I use the old S. I've never updated. But as a little bit of an Easter egg, since it's been so long since I've made a video, since it is Bitcoin Pizza Day, how about the head of the SEC explaining the importance of Bitcoin Pizza Day 5 years ago?
I just want some pizzas. The guy who sent this, he says, I like onions, peppers, sausage, mushrooms. Laszlo. Now catch the date. This is May 18th, and he's offering 10,000 Bitcoins of 2010. But the key line is, what I'm aiming for is getting food delivered in exchange for Bitcoins. Nobody had used Bitcoins as a medium of exchange. 16 months into its existence, nobody had used it to buy something. And Laszlo, is a computer scientist in Florida, was just kind of interested, and he put this out on an email list. 3 days later, he still doesn't have his 2 pizzas. So nobody wants to buy me a pizza. Is the Bitcoin amount I'm offering too low? Another day goes by, he gets his pizzas. And he posts pictures. So here's a picture of his child reaching for those Papa John pizzas. Anybody know what those 10,000 Bitcoins were worth back then? Chicago.
I know what they're worth now.
Anybody want to say back then? What's that? $41. And Laszlo was saying 2 pizzas are probably worth 25 to 30, because there's a whole email thread. He kept saying, why won't anybody get me my pizzas? You can make money on this. Today, or earlier, last night, $66 million. So it's a kind of a cute story. May 22nd every year is called Pizza Day, or Bitcoin Pizza Day or something.
So that's it for me. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Lots of content today. Hope you enjoyed it. Sorry that I was gone for so long, but it was really nice meeting all of you that did come out to the Bitcoin cryptocurrency conference. And if you are interested in some of the behind the scenes stuff, I'm going to be posting some videos over on my Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. So if you guys want to follow me, all those links are below in the description. And if you are looking to trade, I think things are going to get wild. I think this volatility is going to pick up soon. Bollinger Band's getting tight. I didn't show you that, but I'll show you it tomorrow. If you're interested, check this video popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.